All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Looks like everybody from the waiting room is in. I got one more person that just popped in. So before I start sharing, I'm going to let them in. Okay. So welcome to the end of your work week. I'm going to go ahead and share, not my email. Let's go ahead and share what we have on your plate for this week. Just a quick reminder, because again, I'm going to delete this, they're calling it a module, this module after today, after I show all the classes, but I'm no longer in semester 2 going to leave a running list of missed Zoom classes underneath this module. I just put that there just to remind people to look under here. So in the future, if you miss class, don't be looking for this module. Just for example, today's video is going to go under this week's stuff. Right? So you can see at the end of this week, I've got Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and then I'll have Thursdays today under here. So I know I keep saying that, but again, I'm just reminding people. So since you're my last Algebra 2 section, I'm going to go ahead and delete it right now. All right. Hopefully that'll serve. It'll be a little bit cleaner for people to kind of find, and you don't have to scroll like 10 feet down through the module to find today's date. Unfortunately, I wish you could organize it to the newest thing was on the top. That makes the most sense, but for some reason you can't, or at least I don't know how to do it if you can. So for this week's stuff, you've got the interactive textbook. Remember, we tested last week, so this week is basically the beginning of the new chapter, the new unit 4. We are skipping 4.1 and 4.2, the first two lessons. Not only because they're a little bit difficult to do right now during online learning, and they're not really that impactful. They don't really give us a lot of information to build for future classes. Pre-calculus puts a lot of focus on 4.1 and 4.2. So, you're going to be spending plenty of time with that next year if you take pre-calc. But because 4.3, 4.4, 4.5, take a little bit more than a week to handle. And I'm going to explain how we're going to do that here in just a minute. Multiplying and dividing rational expressions, basically multiplying and dividing fractions. And again, it's not just like 3/4 times 1/2. It's algebra, right? So x squared plus 3 times x squared minus 3x plus 7 or something nasty like that. It's not a real straightforward thing. If you read through the chapter, if you watch my video, it's not like it clicks right away. It takes a little bit of practice. It takes a little bit of time. That's why I always stress to you guys, jump on this stuff right away, because if you don't, the thing with math, the thing to be successful is to be looking at it frequently, if not every single day, at least every other day. If you try to learn this stuff in one day, even if you take like 4 hours, it might not click, because just over time, your brain starts to recognize patterns and, stuff starts making sense. So I would strongly encourage you to get on top of this now. And then we'll also be working on it next week, but I'll explain that here in just a minute. So the interactive textbook, the link, the pages, all that junk is right here. If you don't have a textbook, I would highly recommend you get one. Just go to school. You don't need an appointment. Just go into school, tell them you need an Algebra 2 textbook, and bam, they'll get it for you. They'll sign it out to you. I like having a textbook. It's just a lot easier than, fumbling around with the PDF version. The practice problems, I know I've been promoting this, but please make sure you're doing these. I'm getting these questions from people, and there is no way they're asking these questions if on the check-ins, the weekly quiz, if they're doing the practice problems. There's no way. So make sure you're doing these problems and working through them first before you do the check-in. The check-in and the vocab and concept is going to make way more sense if you do that first. Extra practice, if you just want some extra problems, and if you work through the 3 problems that the practice section provided, but you still want some extra practice with it just to make sure you got the hang of it, just access this section and it'll tell you where to go. The 2 assignments that are due Sunday on Valentine's Day, vocab and concepts and the check-in, just like I pushed on, when did we meet? Tuesday. When you're doing this vocab and concepts, have your book out, right? These questions are coming directly from the lesson. I'm still getting questions, even though we talked about this on Monday and Tuesday with my 2 Algebra 2 classes. I'm still getting questions about which term are they looking for? What's the statement saying, right? Just have your book out, and they literally come directly from the book. So that's kind of a little hint to you to help you out with that. And then also when you're doing these practice problems, have that solutions manual out, be watching that video tutorial. Parts 1 and 2 are me going through the lesson, the example problems, the vocab, the hints, the tricks, the tricks of the trade. And then part 3 is the practice problems. And then, those are just the Zoom sessions. So one thing I want to do before I show you next week's stuff, because that unlocked yesterday, is if you're not doing this week's stuff, if you're just kind of playing the game, which I know there's people out there that do this, right? You're just kind of playing the game. You go in, you don't really do the practice problems. You don't even maybe look through the material. You just open the vocab and concepts, you open the check-in, and you just take it multiple times and guess, the multiple choice questions. And then obviously the fill in the blanks you struggle with, or maybe you look those up. I'm not an idiot, right? I know a lot of people are doing that. But what that's doing is that is setting you up for failure in future units and future lessons and future classes, things like that. So at the very least, make sure you're reading through that lesson. Make sure you're getting the idea of it. You're understanding the idea of the concept and how it's supposed to be working. The reason I say that is because this lesson, we're going to be doing basically the same thing next week, multiplying and dividing rational expressions. And when I do the video tutorial for next week, I'm not going into the depth and explaining all the steps and why all the steps happen as I did with this week's stuff. So for example, next week's stuff that unlocked is just going to be a worksheet. My video tutorial is me going through the worksheet. Yeah, I'm highlighting vocab. I'm talking about things. I go through a handful of examples on the worksheet, but I'm not going in depth. So if you're watching this video tutorial and you didn't watch last week's stuff, you might be saying, wow, Chapman, you're really glossing over some stuff, right? You're kind of hitting on it, but then you don't really explain it. Well, that's because I explained it in the previous week's stuff. And I don't want to take the time to re-explain it in that much depth, because then it just makes the video longer, which is irritating, right? So again, the reason why I'm pushing that is when you're doing this week's material, if you're struggling with that and you're watching this video tutorial and you're still kind of lost, I would recommend going back to last week's video tutorial and watching that video tutorial to get the in-depth explanation on how everything works and, all that kind of stuff. So for next week, again, this unlocked today, the reason why we're doing a worksheet is for 2 reasons. One, I've already kind of mentioned, this lesson is not super straightforward. It's not like you can just look at it and you're like, bam, I got it in 10 minutes. And then you just knock the work out and you're done, right? It takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of thought process. There's lots of steps. And like I've said in the past, the more steps that students see, the more they typically struggle. So that's why I'm saying, get on this stuff now. Also, next week is just 2 days, right? We got Monday, Tuesday off next week. It's midwinter break or something like that. I don't know. So we only have class for 2 days next week. And I didn't want to throw the next lesson at you and just be like, hey, you only got 2 days, but still do the same amount of material. So what I'm doing is I'm just giving you a worksheet to review that material. My video tutorial is just me going through the worksheet. I'm still explaining things. I'm still explaining vocab. I'm still working through the problems step by step. But again, it's not in super great detail for each problem and each step. So if you need more detail, just refer back to last week's stuff. So when you click on this, just because we've never really done anything, I'm going to go ahead and click on it. Here's my rational expressions worksheet. Here is the answer key. So this has the answers. I would recommend having that open while you're doing that worksheet, just to make sure you're on track and everything is going nicely. Here's all the instructions. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to upload a picture of that worksheet once you're done, and then I'll grade that worksheet. So this will be due as of the Sunday after next. So let's go back and see when that's going to be. So this unlocked yesterday. This is due Sunday, February 21st. So what, 11 or 12 days from now? Again, just because next week is short, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a shorter assignment. So any questions on that? Again, I know this is kind of new. We've never done this, so I want to make sure that's clear. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and see if anybody typed anything in the chat. Feel free to type something in the chat or unmute yourself if something was unclear. I'm going to let everybody that's late in. Okay. So if that makes sense, use the next whatever minutes of class. I know we got a shortened day today. Use the rest of this time to start working on that material and looking through it. If you have questions or you want to talk about anything, just hang back with me. I hope everybody has an awesome weekend. Enjoy the snow, and we'll see you on Thursday of next week. Bye.
Mr. Chapman?
Yeah, Lucas.
You know why it's a half day today?
The snow.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to start dumping later on this afternoon. So they kind of wanted to do a half day so all the kindergarten teachers can go home and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you get the new schedule?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, man.
Hey, Mr. Chapman.
Hey.
I'm new to the class and I need the PDF so I could do the vocab for the vocab quizzes.
Yeah. So can you access Canvas?
Yeah.
Did I just let you in? Oh, I
Yeah.
did. Let me show you what we're looking at for this week. So you can access our semester 2 class. It looks like this.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. So this is this week's stuff. And the way this works, what I typically do is this week's stuff, and I always label the date so it's open on Monday from until Sunday. So all this stuff is due Sunday. But then typically what I do, just for people that have a wonky schedule, they want to get a head start, they want to manage their time differently, I'll open up the next week's stuff the Wednesday prior. So cool. You know what I mean? So so all this stuff is open as of yesterday, but it's still not due till the 21st. So don't feel obligated to do it early. So if you click on this assignment right here, that first link is the worksheet. And I don't think I said it in class, but you don't have to print that out. You can just use a scratch piece of paper and write it down, or you can print it out and do it if you want.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Thank you.
Welcome to class. All right, buddy. We'll see you, Brooklyn.
All right, see you.